up that says we're live?
Yes.
All right. So let me back up for a minute. Before we
Okay.
get into the friendly conversation and banter, I got to tell you I'm a little upset with you.
Uh-oh.
Okay, maybe more than a little upset. That's an awful nice shirt you're wearing. What do you, don't you think?
Yeah. You know
It's
what?
an
You know
awful.
what's crazy? You
So
know what's
what? Wait.
crazy?
What? Tell the people watching why I would be upset.
You're upset because you don't have a Live Be Do shirt.
Right. Not just a Live Be Do shirt. How long did I say, listen, I need a tank top? I said, I'm going to wear them to the gym. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to help people know who you are. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to get you a tank top and you can flex in it. And I'm still sitting here. Other people send me toys. Other people send me goodies and get the free advertising. But you, on the other hand, it's
Eesh.
like,
I got you. I got you. What a friend of mine just went down there to your city, and
and he came empty
if
handed.
yes, if I had known she was going, I would have sent her with shirts. And I told her that. I was like, why didn't you tell me you were going? I would have sent you with shirts. I got a friend down there. But I don't have any tank tops. The tank tops my cousin made for me didn't work out. And so no really no excuse.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, listen, for the people who don't know why I'm better, you know what? I'm going to show them who you are and what you do because even though I'm a little salty, that doesn't mean I don't want people to know who you are. Because I'm glad we had a
Yo,
chance to connect on this level, especially about the fasting, because we've been talking for a while. I want everybody to check him out
right.
on Instagram, Live Be Do, because he's
Yeah, I
got it's
appreciate this,
yeah,
bro.
it's pretty slick. But why am I telling people who you are and what you do? You tell them.
All right. So my name is Akeem Tolson. Live Be Do is it's like a mission statement. It's like a personal mission statement that went rogue. Um, I use it as a personal mission statement, and I started taking trips and doing more events and getting out of the house more. Um, and people would, ask me about the shirt, ask me if it was a group thing, and I'd be like, nah, it's not a group thing. But then it just kind of grew into a movement of sorts where people would start requesting shirts. It wasn't a business or anything like that. And then started making shirts, different shirts for myself, and then people started requesting them. And then I would do events. I would
Hmm.
do meetups. And now we've just scheduled our first group trip to Puerto Rico, which is my second home, one of my favorite places.
What city do you live in when you go to
Um,
Puerto Rico?
um, San Juan. I do Airbnbs,
Mm, mm, mm.
so I haven't purchased anything down there yet.
Hmm.
But I'm just there all the time. I'm there every few months, just as kind of like a mental health break.
How's your Spanish?
My Spanish is mediocre,
That's
but luckily for me, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so technically, they say English is their official language, even though they speak mostly Spanish,
you know what
supposedly.
we need to have a roundtable with you and some other people because that comment you just said about them being a territory of the United States, that's a very loaded statement. That's not why we're on the team today, but we're gonna have to bookmark that for later, yeah?
Sure. We can get back to that.
Because I
We
also
can get back
saw,
to that.
if you look on your screen, you have this fall in love with Puerto Rico. Join now.
Yes,
What's that?
yes. So that's I was just talking about the our first group trip to Puerto Rico, October 24th through the 28th. We're doing a cultural tour.
Okay.
Can you? Okay, yeah, I see it. We're doing a couple of things. We're doing a black or Afro Puerto Rican cultural tour. We
Right
have
on.
set up. So it's going to be kind of a mixture of culture and adventure and fun. We've got snorkeling. We've got a masquerade on Saturday night. So Saturday morning we'll do the cultural tour in the town of Loíza,
Okay.
which is known for its Afro Caribbean or Afro Puerto Rican roots. Um, just a large presence of Black Puerto Ricans there in that town. I think it's like the largest population of Black or the largest concentration of Black Puerto Ricans on the island, in that town of Loíza.
Okay.
So Yeah, we'll be there doing a cultural tour. We'll do drumming workshops, bomba dancing, which is a traditional Puerto Rican, Afro Puerto Rican form of music and dance. We'll be learning about the history and the culture. That's 10 o'clock Saturday morning on Saturday, October 26th. Then 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., we'll be doing the masquerade.
You got some scary clowns on your
So,
page, man.
well, that's funny story. Those are traditional costumes. Some of those are traditional costumes from the town of Loíza.
Now
Um,
you see what you had to do in this picture. Look at that. What kind of nonsense is that? You got to wear another T-shirt with a
oh
tank
my
top,
God.
flex the guns, and put Live Be Do in front of it. If you had made some decent tank, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. Bitter at all.
Well, look, man, I'm still working on it. I've got so much on my plate. I thought I had some. I'm not even gonna lie. I thought I had some, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna send these to Brazil. But I wore it to Belize, and the words came off. So I was like, I can't send them
It's
this.
cakewalk. Well,
I
but listen,
promise.
we were talking earlier in a private chat, and I was telling everybody I wanted to. I didn't want to talk about it before I did it because I don't want to be that kind of person. I completed
Right.
a 24-hour fast where it was nothing but water, tea. I had like 1 or 2 cups of coffee for 24 hours.
Okay.
And well, for people watching, I'm not a doctor. I just have friends that are into all kinds of crazy body experiments from weightlifting to different eating mechanisms, to different injectables, just crazy stuff to maximize your own body. And the
Right.
way I did it, and I'll tell you what I did the day before because I don't know if this is cheating or not. But what a lot of folks don't know that I did before, and I want to put this out there because I want to give everybody, yeah, this is actually what I did, not how would I put it, not some bullshit.
Right.
What I did first, before I even got involved and thought about the 24 hours, I did this. I went the day before, I just overloaded on fruit and water.
Mm.
I think I had a chicken breast the day before I fasted, but that whole day I crammed down as much fruit as I possibly could. Living in Brazil, fruit is abundant every Sunday at my market. I can just
Right.
go crazy. So that's what I did to prep.
Right.
Because I had done 16 hours before that. I would do a eating window and then I moved to 16 hours and I decided, okay, finally, I'm gonna try this 24-hour and see what happens. And I
Okay.
started to psych myself out because you're in the middle of a fast right now. How deep are you?
I am. This is my. What day is this? Wednesday.
Yeah.
This is my. I want to say my second full day.
Wow.
My second full day, but it's not a complete fast. It's a. What I'm doing is I'm having water and fruit. So I'll
Mm,
have water, apples, water, 2 apples, and a banana. That's what I've been having for the past 2 days.
gotcha. Well, what I did is I had my meal 8 p.m. Let's call it the night before. And when I got
Okay.
to 16 hours, I'll tell you the only thing that got weird for me. I kind of mentally psyched myself out because I said, all right, it's 16 hours. I've never done this before. I wonder what my body's going to feel like. And it was right around that time. A bunch of people around me said, hey, listen, let's go grab some steaks. And I said, I'm going to hang back. I'm just give my mom a call. And they looked at me and they're
Mm.
like, that's not like you to, people say steak. And usually, listen, if anybody was ever trying to catch me, you wouldn't have to bribe me with money. You're like, let's go get some steaks. And I would just walk right into whatever trap you laid out for me.
Ah.
Um, and so what I did is I'm like, I didn't want to be around something I couldn't do. So I just hung back, called my mom. She was like, why are you calling me at such a weird time? Nothing, mom. I love you. And we talked.
Aha. Yeah.
But here's the strange thing that happened. Once I got into hour 16 and 17, and I was dealing with some clients. Nothing at all. And I started to feel weird that I didn't feel weird. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. 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 I know exactly. I know that feeling. Um, I'm not a stranger to fasting. There's a certain point that you reach where you think you're gonna before you in preparation for the fast, you're like, oh God, if you're questioning, can I do this? Can I get
Mm,
through this?
mm.
And you're thinking like there's gonna be a point where I'm just gonna give up or I'm gonna, break down. And you get to a point in the fast, once you actually get into the fast, you get to a point where you're expecting like some kind of like crazy hunger, ravening like rush of hunger, and there's just quiet. Like my body is just like,
Yeah.
okay, you didn't eat. After a while, after a while, it's more mental for me because I'm like, okay, well, let me do something. Let me respond to some emails, or let me go run, let me go do some cardio, let me do something. And as long as I'm active, then that takes me away from eating, and I'm more focused on my goals anyway.
And that's the thing.
So
I knew that I didn't want to do it on a weekend, because on a weekend I wouldn't be constantly doing stuff, because constantly doing
yeah,
stuff kept me from ever having to think about anything,
yeah, exactly.
you know. And that's what was that was just, yeah, that was wild. And I went to 24 hours, and after that, I remember at the 24-hour mark, I was still on my way out of a client meeting, and I said, I should stop and eat something. And I'll tell you what I ended up doing. I stopped and I got a bowl of thick, hot congee soup and some fish strips that had been breaded and filleted
Okay.
and fried. And I thought, this is soft food. Um, I drank the soup, ate the fish, and I will tell you something interesting that happened. I think I overate,
Hmm.
and I ate far less than I ordinarily would have eaten.
Right.
My body, like 2 hours later, I felt like I had eaten four steaks, six baked potatoes, and I mean, it was just my body. I mean, I felt swollen. It was gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
I and not to get too vulgar about it, and I don't know if this happened to you. My body started to evacuate, as if it was like you ever have a day in the office, a day with clients, and you're just backed up on work, and you just like, if I could just get a day to get ahead, if I could just get one day to catch up on all this work. That's what my body did. I started evacuating and defecating, and it was like I didn't eat for 24 hours, and
Like, yeah,
it was, and I didn't do it on a day I was lifting weights, but it was a very surprising experience, because all I did the day before was just make sure I try to drink 3 of these a day. These are a liter and a half. I drink three
okay.
of these a day. I ate a little extra fruit, couple extra fruits that I normally would eat. And when I went into that fast, it just nothing happened. Was that your first experience? Like your first experience with a fast? How long was it? What were the effects afterwards?
My first experience, wow, bro, that was the first time I fasted was 1990 something. But that was for like that was back when I was religious. So that was like a Christian fast.
Mm.
Um the first time I think the first time I was paranoid, first of all, because I was like, "Oh my God." And all we really did was fast from meat, and I was paranoid. We fasted from meat, and I was paranoid. I was like, "What am I going to eat? What am I going to eat?" I kept thinking all day, "What am I going to eat?" And then I kind of got into it. Like I fast regularly now, so I kind of got into it. I was like, you know what? I'll go a day with no food, and then I would be like, I'd progress. I'd be like, okay, I'll go 2 days with no food, 3 days with no food. I think 3 days is the most I've ever done with no food, absolutely no food.
Now, did you make
Um,
sure you stayed active, or you stayed relaxed?
well, back then it was just regular, like a work day. You go, get up, go to work, and then I had small children, so there was no real downtime for me. There was never really any
Oh,
downtime.
yeah. I hear children require a lot of energy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm.
you don't have the energy.
Mm.
One thing fasting will do for you is people won't get on your nerves. You don't have the energy to spare. I you can't argue with people. small things that set you off, you don't have the energy for it. So you just, you're just trying to conserve energy. You're trying to conserve energy for the important things, to get through the day, to get through the important stuff. And in my case,
So you just have to let it go.
so
You just look at them and say, you know what, that's cool. That's cool.
yeah, that's fine. I don't even,
You want to be
I don't even
mad?
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, long-term fasting. And for me, sometimes the longest I've gone is like 30 days. I'm going on a 30-day fast, but it's not without food. It'll be like different things. So maybe the first few days it'll be without food, and then I'll gradually switch it up into like maybe one meal a day or just fruit, no meat, um, things like that. But yeah, like 30 days. And at the end of that, I feel great. And like you said, I can't eat. My body has got accustomed to just one meal. So after like one meal, I feel like I'm pigging out. Like after an apple, or like after I can barely finish the sandwich.
So do you
So
incorporate this now? Do you do any kind of weightlifting or sport training or anything like
yes,
that?
yes. I work out at least, I want to say every day, but there with my travel schedule, I try to get at least 3 days in, 3 days a week. Um, so yes, and I don't switch up. The only time it impacts me really is if, let me say, if I've been traveling, or if I've been out of the gym for a few days, then I can't, naturally I can't get back into my regular routine. I
Right.
have to slow down a little bit. But if I just start a fast in, already in my regular routine, I don't, nothing changes. Um, the only thing that the way it impacts me is though is I drop weight really fast.
You know what I don't. So I'll tell you something I've discovered because being in Brazil, I do a lot of heavy compound weightlifting. For a while, I got kind of bored with it, and I wanted to find something different to incorporate, especially just on off days or on the weekend when I want to work out outside. Um,
Right.
I got something for you if you want to come and visit.
Okay.
You ever do kettlebells?
I used to do kettlebells.
Yo, I've gotten into some savage kettlebell routines, and I want to tell you something, brother. I mean, because it's interesting because they're not heavy like you're lifting heavy like that kettlebell. I've lifted much heavier things, but when you get into doing 4 sets of 20 of those, then 4 sets of 20 around your arms, then 4 sets of 20 squats, then 4 sets of 20, kettlebell Turkish get-ups.
Yeah.
That's when you start to feel that burn,
Yeah.
you know. And I remember the
Yeah.
first time I did it in a park, and I was going like this, like a beast, and I felt good, and I had my water with me. And I remember something in my body said, "You should just go sit down right now." And I sat against the wall. I sat against the wall, and I fell out for a second. I was like, "Oh,"
Whoa.
because here's the thing: I've done much heavier, much more strenuous things: Brazilian jiu-jitsu, grappling, lifting heavy weights. But that prolonged activity of a moderate weight, just over pounding and pounding
Yeah.
in the sun of Brazil,
Yeah.
it got me.
Yeah. Put anything I do in the sun is gonna hurt me. So I try to avoid the sun.
Yeah, it got me. I'll tell you something interesting. I always gauge how I feel. I listened to a guy older than I am who said something that he admitted. He even said, I didn't invent this. This is a philosophy that he goes through. And he said two things. He said, I eat whatever I want, just not as much as I want.
Mm.
And I always ask myself, this is something I used to read back in, I've read a lot of Japanese philosophy books, not in Japanese, but one of the ways that men would rate each other, and they would say, how do I feel today? The question would be, if I had to get into a fight right now, would I be okay? If I lost, would it be because he was better than me, or because I overate, or because I
Mm.
got greedy and I let myself get to the point where I couldn't respond quickly? So the way I look at myself is I say, if one of my buddies called me and said, "What? We need somebody in your weight class for our Brazilian Jiu Jitsu team. The normal guy got sick. The backup guy got sick. We need you. Could you just jump on the mat for us right now, just so we don't default, just so we have somebody in that weight class that won't embarrass themselves? Can you get in there?" I I felt like after that 24-hour fast, that's me and some of my friends pretending to be mean, mean mugging. and none of us is about that gangster life at all. But uh, it was one of those things. I felt like after that 24-hour fast, and I drank some water. If I had to go get into it right now, right then, I would have been fine. Interestingly enough, after I kind of did that refeed where I had the soup and the fish, I felt gross.
Yeah,
So my goal
yeah,
is what I want to do is try this once a week and just see how I go. Short term goal, 4 weeks. Let's just say 4 weeks. Let's see how that
right.
goes and see how I feel afterwards. What prompted you to do this? Why are you in the middle of your fast right now?
Good question. I've
Uh
been
oh.
traveling and I've been eating crap everywhere. Eating the street food in Puerto Rico, um, cookies and candy bars and just all kinds of stuff. Um, and every now and then it's just a cycle for me anyway. But this week I just felt like I needed to do it. Just felt like, look, because I got a lot of traveling coming up. Um, I don't want to feel weighed down. I don't want to feel gassy and stuff like that. So, and plus I'm working out. I'm in the gym, and um, this is a small part of why.
Mm,
Um, one of the guys that I work out with, he's fit. He looks good, and he always talks about my stomach. I don't have much of a stomach, but he videos our workouts for his little business, his personal training business,
okay.
and he'll always make comments like um, "Oh man, this would have been a good shot, but your stomach is in the way."
Wow. But you know what?
So
Those are the kind of friends a man needs because there are very few
yeah,
people that care about you enough to be honest with you, but not be a jerk about it.
right, 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 right. And we joke around about it, but we're serious about health. So I don't want to be. I want to have results. I want to have positive results. I don't want to just be in there. And another friend of mine always tells me like, yo, you can't out train a bad diet.
Mm,
Um,
mm. Gospel. Tell him. Tell him.
yeah, you can't out train a bad diet. And so I'm in decent shape now. I'm over 40, so I'm trying to maintain what I have, pretty much. So fasting is just a way of life. Fasting is just it's just maintenance.
I'll tell you something interesting. When I was in my 20s, I was much bigger. I was a monster in the gym. But here's
Mm,
what's interesting, and you can relate to this. Being 20, even early 30s, in great condition, big arms, squatting 1 million pounds, that carries weight. But being 40 and still being in the gym and not being the fat guy and still being competitive
yeah,
in the looks department, it's so much more advantageous to be 40 and in good shape, to even be in moderately
yeah.
good shape at 40 than to be in excellent shape at 20. Because for anybody watching, for any of you young cats out there that's trying to figure out how the game of life is played, this is one I'm giving you the game on this one. The drop off at 30
Okay.
is immense. The people who fall off at 30 years old, I mean, 80% of the guys are going to fall off a cliff at 30. People think I'm a
Right.
Superman. I'm not. I just managed to just keep it together. Just stay the course. Just
Right.
stay on top of it. Stayed away from drugs, stayed away from alcohol, stayed away from smoking, no unprotected sex, all those tiny things. My doctor told me once, she said, you're in excellent condition. She said, I want to see you lose about 20 more pounds to really get there, which I could. But she also said, in your 20s and early 30s, you write a check that your body cashes at 35, 45.
Mm,
Now you can go off on a crazy tangent and charge everything up and have a whole lot of fun, but then you hit that 35-year-old mark, they start getting those weird lines in their face. Their eyes get all grungy looking.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I see when I go back home, when I go back to New York and see, some of the people I grew up with, and just can't believe it. Like, wow, you look old enough to be like one of my parents.
Jeez. Now, what part of New York were you born in?
I was born in the Bronx.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you carry a gun?
No, I didn't carry a
You
gun.
hesitated.
I didn't carry a gun at all, man.
I thought everybody. I thought like
Nah,
I thought when you left grade school in the Bronx, they gave you a gun.
nah.
No.
Well, I carried a
Don't
box
incriminate
cutter.
yourself. Statute of
Well,
limitations.
that's back then. That's back then. That's back then. That's old stuff. It was necessary.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I was this kid. Now I was born in Niagara Falls, New York, which is a long stretch off from New York City.
Diet New York.
Not even diet New York. This is like that low-cal suburb, Niagara Falls, New York. I'll tell you, Niagara Falls, New York has fallen on hard times. When I was a kid, we were raised with the if you have any chance at all, get out, get educated, and don't come back because there was
Mm,
really nothing there at all. I mean, it's got a reputation, but that
wow.
reputation is really old. You
Wow.
know, Mm, it's not good at all. It's not good at all. So I'm in a situation where, you know, for me, a lot of people I know and love still live there, but
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is your family still there? Like you
yeah,
still have a
well,
lot of family there?
yeah, well, my dad died a long time ago. Um, I was an adult. I mean, he just died many years ago. My mother is older, but I'm caught in that situation where my mom is not leaving. Like we've had
Wow.
conversations. I've tried everything from bribery to extortion. It's not going to happen. But at the same time, I can't live in Niagara Falls because for the life that I lead, there's nothing there for me. And that's not a
Right.
derogatory or inflammatory statement towards people who still live there. It's just not my life, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, I understand that.
So I'm negotiating a couple of different things, and um, life in other countries for an independent businessman. And this is a conversation, on the health topic. I was having a conversation with someone, one of my clients here, who can't quite understand healthcare in America because we're the only industrialized/civilized country in the world where you pay for medicine. But Americans don't
Mm,
know that, and outside of Americans, they can't understand a concept they've never heard of before. They've never heard of a concept. Even in poor countries, I've been every place from Thailand and that side of the world to London. They don't understand the concept of being sick and the government making you buy medicine. That doesn't register for them because that's just not how other countries work. In America,
right.
you get sick, you don't have the right money, you just die. And even if you do have insurance, and I learned this from working in insurance and investments for many years, that's how I got out of the game. I semi-retired a few years ago. Um, Most people don't know the real cost of getting older and the real cost of healthcare. They don't really get that.
Right.
And talking to my mom, it's a situation where I would give her a better life if she came to Brazil than I could give her if I moved to Niagara Falls, New York. But there's no real way to have that conversation when at her age she's not, it's just not going to happen because I have an
Right.
entire rest of the family there.
Right.
So sometimes you have to accept that you can't get a win in certain situations. That you're choosing the best of a set of bad options. So and
Understood.
I hope that you, with your travels, because one of the interesting things about Spanish, you can speak to. I think if you speak Spanish, you can speak to what do they say, 75% of the world, something like that.
Is that what they say?
It's some enormous number because I mean, they're basically, if you were an alien coming to Earth and you had to learn how to speak to people, you would only learn two languages. You'd learn Mandarin Chinese. I lived in China for 2 years, and you'd learn Spanish. Everybody else would have to
Really?
just figure it out. Mandarin Chinese and Spanish run the world.
Wow.
If you were talking about a sheer numbers, if you just needed to be an alien, telling, hey, y'all need to quit that shit with the nuclear weapons or we're coming down there to kick some ass, you would say it in Mandarin Chinese and you would say it in Spanish, and everybody else would just have to get it translated. But that would be a small minority of people.
So most of the world speaks of. So you're saying just a Latin language, as far
Yeah,
when you say Spanish.
I would say Spanish, a dialect of Spanish.
Okay.
So, did you do any formal training for your Spanish?
No, no. I learned the bad words on the streets in the Bronx,
Oh,
and yeah, and now that I'm traveling to Spanish-speaking countries more, I most of my Spanish-speaking friends here, they text me in Spanish. We'll have short, brief conversations in Spanish, And that's just, I need to spend more time in conversation though.
I was
Because in
wrong.
this,
I had old information. I'm sorry. I need to correct myself. I was giving you old information based on something I read a couple of years ago when I was talking to a client, and I'm looking it up now. And I just want to correct myself um, on Spanish speaking. Hold on. The Washington Post. Let me correct myself here. The
okay.
mapping of the 7 languages. Let me do this. Because, by the way, I was right about one Chinese. You're never going to beat the Chinese. It's just not going to happen. Let me show you guys this real quick for anybody who's interested. There you go. But you know what that might be due to? Can you see that chart I posted?
Yeah, I can see Chinese and
Spanish is 389, but get this. Hindi Urdu is growing at an exponential rate because India will overtake China as the most populous place in the world in our lifetime.
right.
That's what got me. Arabic, I didn't know that many people were speaking Arabic, but the Urdu and the Hindi, I mean, India, the population explosion there is immense. So you learn the
Yeah, that's
bad
crazy.
words
I
on the
had no
street, and
idea.
then you learn the rest just living there.
Just in high school, I learned a little bit of Spanish, but not conversational Spanish, just like the greetings and things like that.
Mm.
Um, and I just started picking Spanish up. I guess in the past year or so, I've just gotten back into trying to speak Spanish. It works better for me when I'm in a Spanish speaking country
Of
because I
course.
can't go back to I can't go back to my English language. If you try to talk Spanish to me in the States, I'm just going to speak English. I'm I'm just programmed that way. But
Mm.
unless we're practicing, unless it's like a practice session, if you just walk up to me, I'm getting better though. I am. I'm getting better. Um, I'm getting much better, much better. I will say that. I won't down myself too bad, but yeah, for a while, like I would go to like I'd come back from Colombia or come back from Puerto Rico after speaking Spanish the whole time or most of the time, or fumbling through Spanish, and then come back here and like one of my friends would, just assume that since I was away in a Spanish speaking country, oh well, let me speak Spanish to Hakeem,
Mm.
and I would just be like, nah, I don't even understand what you're saying. So, and
Wow.
they get frustrated, but it's just a laziness. Like, look, I'm back. I don't want to do that. Let's talk about Portuguese, buddy.
Yeah, well,
How's that going?
tudo bem. E eu preciso muito praticar o
Ah,
meu português. And
oh,
oh,
oh, oh. I like that. But see, you lived there though, man. You lived there. That's good. That's good. That's good. Good stuff.
it's where am I? I'll put it to you this way. I am still ashamed of the level of Portuguese I speak because I had a friend who came down from the north. She lives in Salvador, and she brought me an article out of a financial newspaper, and she said, "Check this out." Um, and I couldn't read it. And she said it was embarrassing to know you've been here this long and you're still communicating on a I can go to the mall and have a coffee conversation level. She said, for someone who, because and this is no excuse, but this is a great place to put my own little commercial. Everybody here knows I don't have any kind of commercial arrangement with YouTube or Google. What I do
Right.
is I'm an editor, writer, copywriter, proofreader. If you need something ghostwritten, I write for a lot of websites. If you need your resume written, if you need a book edited, a journal article edited, I put things in university level correct English. That's what I'm paid to do.
Mm.
I also do training because a lot of my clients do things like TED Talks and things like that. So you guys can always catch me here. Anyone can always catch me on YusefWateef at gmail.com.
Okay.
And if anybody else wants to add me, you can always add me on LinkedIn. That's another place where I go. Let's see.
Okay.
So So and I say that to say this. Um, I work in English, so it puts me in a situation where I'm not doing it. Oh, hold on, we got a hot news flash. Back up,
Okay.
back up. We just got a news flash, and we put this. My buddy Isaiah recognized, just gave us the hot news flash. He says, "Hey, the news just reported wildfires in Brazil that burned up the rainforest, more than half of the country. They said it was so bad they see the smoke from outer space."
Wow.
It is bad. The rainforests are constantly under attack. I am not going to pretend that right now I have enough information to tell you what's going on. I can tell you that the Amazon rainforest for most of our lifetime is a heavily contested area. You have activists fighting loggers, fighting big companies, and it's 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 terrifying.
Mm.
The Washington Post posted an article that I'm going to share with you guys on the screen. If anybody wants to take time to go check that out. Let me find another place to get it because they said that they want me to pay to get into that site,
Mm.
which I'm not going to do. But I'm gonna hit the news here and see if we can pull up some relevant information on what's happening right now. There we go. CNET. Rainforest fires rage and sobering views from space. And I think this is what he was talking about when he left us that message, when Isaiah left that message. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Everybody wants you to pay to go into that, to their sites to see things now.
Yeah, I saw that. I peeped that when it's crazy. People share Washington Post articles on their timeline, and I try to go in, and I noticed that in the thread they're having deep conversation about it, and I try to go in and read the article, but they request that I pay.
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't have any problem with anybody asking to be paid for what they do. I actually listened to a very interesting NPR article, and one of the things that they said was that there is a big problem right now because when Facebook first started, everybody loved it because they could put their articles there, hoping that people would come back and look at the website. The problem is nobody did, and they poisoned
Mm.
their own well because once Facebook got people accustomed to not paying for the news sites, when those same news sites put up paywalls, nobody went back.
Mm.
Can
Well,
you see
news
this
is free
page
everywhere.
from Twitter that just popped up, the World Wildlife Fund? They're on Twitter right now, and I'll read you guys. It said there was a worldwide outcry when the Notre Dame Cathedral was on fire. Why is there not the same level of outrage for the fires destroying the Amazon rainforest? Look at that. Look at that.
Mm. I'm not going to touch that one. I'm here to talk about fasting.
Well, wow, that sounded kind of ominous. Why not? We got time and information. Please. What would you not want to say?
What would I not want to say about
Yeah.
the difference?
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Who's
I'm listening.
well, the difference is who's impacted more. Um, who's who has who's more interested in what? So who's impacted more by the rainforest? Who's impacted more by Notre Dame?
You're asking a
Um,
rhetorical question. Give us your thoughts. Don't let's not play
you asked for the
touch button.
difference. You asked for the difference.
So and then you answered with a question. Don't answer a question with a question.
That was it. That's my explanation. The difference is the population that's interested in Notre Dame and the population that's interested in the rainforest. That's the difference.
What
The
population is interested in the rainforest?
um, I guess the people who are reporting it, the people who are complaining about it, the natives to Brazil, the natives to those areas, the people who are going to have to breathe the smoke,
Mm.
the people who depend on the Amazon for fishing and um, you know just to for uh, endangered species, all of the animals and the wildlife, the flora and fauna in the forest, the people who depend on it for wood, for lumber,
Yeah,
and just the
yeah,
people who live around the rainforest, you know?
exactly. And I'll give you a universal truth. Um, it's poor brown people.
Right,
That's the thing. Poor brown people are the most affected by that, and also that Amazon rainforest is it is it is enormously profitable for everyone that wants to cut a piece of it out. Everyone, that wants a piece of that rainforest has some money involved.
right.
I don't know. And
Yeah, and
here's
I'm not really, I don't have enough information about it to really expound, but I see what you're saying.
yeah, and that's what I wanted to. I often find that and I hope you're not guilty of this. A lot of people, when we talk about things, we have to talk about things clearly and openly as they are. To be able to say openly and honestly, yeah, it's poor brown natives that are going to be affected by this. I have clients and friends that have brutal political disagreements, and shout out to all the independent businessmen out there. One of the bonuses of working for your own company is you can say what's on your mind and run the risk of losing a client because you refuse to compromise on one of your beliefs. But the interesting part is once you demonstrate yourself to be one of those men who is also capable of producing a quality product, no matter what that product is, people hug you closer. They don't push you away.
Right,
Some of my best clients are the ones that hate me politically, but say I have someone who's just willing to stand up and work as hard at getting his political points across as he does what he does for my business. I think I need him around because I trust him more than the guy that acquiesces.
right,
And for everybody watching, make sure you give a thumbs up. Everybody, make sure you thumbs up the video whenever you're watching this, today, tomorrow, whenever. And after you give it a thumbs up, share it somewhere. Share it on your Instagram. Share it on your Facebook. Share it on your Twitter. Share it on your Tinder profile. I've been telling people, hey, put it on your Tinder profile and say, if you can't have a conversation, at least this in depth, we don't need to be doing it.
exactly,
Add it as a
exactly,
qualifier.
exactly, exactly. Yes,
So
yes.
I want to go back to Puerto Rico. Let me back up. Other Latin American countries. Have you been traveling to other Latin American countries?
Um, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, everybody's been there. Cuba. Actually, I'm going to
Okay.
Cuba next week. Next, from the 30th to September 3rd. Um, Colombia,
Okay.
and been several places in Colombia, and that's it. That's it. But I'm from the Bronx, so I know everybody. But no, that's the extent. That's the extent of my travel in Latin America. Of course, I'm going to get deeper into. I fell in love with Colombia. I've been to several places in Colombia, and I can't
Okay.
get out of it right now. Um,
Well, so it sounds like what started out as a passion project, something you fell in love with, kept growing and growing and growing, and now it's turned into a business.
yes,
And that's the best kind
yes,
of business to have.
um, right, right, because it's a labor of love. It's something
Mm,
that I enjoy doing anyway. Without the income, without the potential to make a profit, it's something that I'd be doing on my own
okay.
without a group. Um, and what's really snatched me, what's really has my attention is the hard to believe. And I think a lot of people are in my same situation. Finding out about Black history and African history in Latin
Mm,
America. That's what really has my attention. That's what has me going back. It's like every time I go back, I learn something new about, um, you know, the populations or the history, the Black history in those different
mm.
countries, especially Colombia. Especially Colombia. I
Why so?
find I'm learning about they're black heroes. They're the equivalents to Nat Turner, the equivalent to Harriet Tubman, and all their black black history heroes,
Okay.
for lack of a better word. Um, and it just blew my mind. It blew my mind. It blew my mind to be somewhere around black people who don't speak English.
You
Black people
realize
who look
globally,
like
most
me.
black people don't speak English.
I realized, yeah, but look at me. I'm over 40, and that's why I said there's probably more people like me. Um, but just Spanish. When I grew up in the Bronx, the face of Latin America was always pale. It wasn't black. So to go to these countries and find so many black people, and then to learn that more people went to South America than more Africans or African slaves went to South America than North America.
And Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil has the largest population of black people outside of Africa.
Yeah.
Is that yeah? So to learn that after 40, my mind is blown.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so I've got a lot of catching up to do, bro.
Wow. So let me back up then. Right now, what you're doing is you're hosting trips. Is that it?
Yes.
You're hosting trips, um, traveling. Puerto Rico is the next. You said what is that? Havana?
Um, the next one next week we'll be in Havana, but I'm a guest host with another travel company on that
Okay.
trip.
Okay.
Yeah. So my first Live Be Do, and we partnered with Tor More, another company that's driven towards exposing people to Afro Latin cultures. We partnered with that company to uh, do this first tour coming up in October 24th through the 28th in Puerto Rico. Um, and that's pretty much what my tours or my mission is going to be centered around is introducing people from the United States, U.S. citizens, to Afro Latin culture.
Okay. Hmm.
So
Then what we need to do is we need to have a chat, just you and me, and talk about what I can do to help. How I can
cool.
how I can help spread your message and um, for the record, now, and I realized I have to say this. I didn't know that a lot of people didn't know this. Nobody pays me to help them advertise. I mean, I want a free T-shirt from Akeem, but
You got it, bro.
I've been talking to a lot of people, and I got a couple private messages, and the private messages were, "Hey, I'd like to compensate you to be, introduced to your audience," and I had to respectfully decline because I'm just doing what I want everybody else to do. If you know somebody interesting, introduce them to the world. If you are someone
Yeah.
who has a group of friends and some of them are doing something worth talking about, introduce them. If it's not like this, do it on Twitter. If it's not on Twitter, do it on Facebook. But it terrifies me to know how many people also know you that know me, and I never see them show you anywhere.
Mm.
So, are you traveling with the family? Is that who? When I see everybody in the picture, is that you and the family?
Which pictures?
Oh, I just see a ton of pictures.
Oh, some of them might be family trips. We do take family trips, but a lot of them there'll be meetups with me and my friends. Or I've even crashed some of my friends' trips. So they'll be like, "Hey, I'm gonna." Last year, for example, a friend of mine, good friend of mine, said she was taking a solo trip to Puerto Rico. It was her first solo trip, so I just crashed it. And another friend of hers crashed it. We all flew down there and just had a good time. Just turned up. Earlier this year, we did a group trip to actually just a meetup, just a bunch of Facebook friends. We never met in person. We just were friends on Facebook. We met up in Belize. So
Now, here's something that happens to me in Brazil quite a bit. I'm just going to take two random pictures. Oh, modern Oracle. Phyllis Reed, come to Ecuador. Do you want to? Let me see. I'm going to ask her if she wants to get beamed up. She did a show with me a while back. I love her to death. Let's see. Want to join us? There we go. So if she wants to come up, she's a very healthy person. I'm sure she has an opinion
Oh,
on
okay,
the
about
fasting
fasting. Yeah.
and living in Ecuador where she is now. She may also have an opinion. So
Okay.
I'm going to show you something really interesting that happens in Brazil. And I was warned. They said this is going to happen. Don't freak out. Okay, I said don't freak out. I said, wow, what am I going to see? Watch this. Now, this could be your family. I don't know. Who is that?
Those are my daughters.
Okay. Now, those are your daughters. They look exactly like two women that I just passed in the mall. They also look, when you come to Brazil, you will meet people who look exactly like somebody you know back home because there are
Right.
only so many faces to go around, and so much of the black ancestry came from a relative size and area in Africa that while we are
Right.
diverse, it's not uncommon to see someone who looks like they could be related to you in
Right.
Brazil.
Right. Right.
And it's
That's how I
just,
felt when I went. That's how I felt when I went to Haiti. I was shocked to see people like. For one thing, the I don't know what my expectation was, but Haiti exceeded my expectation. People always talk down about Haiti, but when I was there, I saw people just regular people, and it looked like somebody you could speak to, somebody you'd see in the States and you could say hi to.
mm,
But then again, there's the language barrier.
right, right. There's the
So,
language barrier. So I was also going to ask you something that I want to do and something that I've learned from other people speaking of the language barrier is no matter what your level is, start working towards some kind of a formal certification for your language. Now in Brazil, we only have one or two that we can, one that we can do actually, and it's a very very strict exam, and
wow.
it's one that you can only get it if you are intermediate or higher. And the sucky part is it, yeah, the sucky part is you can only get the certification at intermediate or higher. So if you're still low beginner, that's it.
What, as far
And
as
that's,
language?
yeah, that sucks. But get it. And
Mm,
if you're learning Spanish, learn formally because one of the advantages that I have is that I started to learn Portuguese formally.
okay.
And it stopped me from learning any of the bad habits, the bad grammar. So even though I'm learning much slower than a lot of people, it really does matter in the way that you're perceived professionally because I'm looking at the future. I'm thinking, well, what happens if you decide you just want to move there to any Spanish speaking country? Having a legal certification as far as what you can do and how you can speak matters a lot. Having
Wow,
something
I
that
didn't
says,
even.
I can do business here in your language,
Ah,
it's huge. It's huge.
okay.
And that's something I really want you to consider because you may get to the point where you pass that 51%. You
Okay.
may get to the point where you can say, you know what, maybe I want to spend 40% of my time in the United States.
Right.
Maybe you get older when the beard is gray and my mustache is gray. You say, you know what, I just want to go someplace and spend the rest of my days reading and listening to the music of. And it's a good option to have. Have you started thinking about a
Yeah.
second passport?
Uh, Not really. Not really.
Well, since I'm
I
already
did.
over,
I did think about. I briefly thought about Ghana, but not really. Not nothing in depth.
so here's the thing. I want you. Look. Here's the thing. I'm already giving you too much to handle anyway, but you can come back and watch this later. As somebody who's a veteran of like 15 countries and 5 continents, one of the best decisions I made was to really focus on I want to live in another country full time if I want to, and started really investigating all the countries and finding out what are the best options for that. Go to Puerto Rico on your next trip and just say, hey, I want to talk to somebody down at the federal building and find out what I would have to do. Find out if I would have to start a business here. Find out if I had to have a relative here. Find out if, I mean, any of those things, and just really make it a long-term goal over the course of a year to say at the end of this year, I will have enough information to start the process of living in another country if I choose to. And pick two countries, you know, because it matters. And I always tell people this. You always want to have a backup plan. I'm kind of doomsday about a lot of things. I want to have other places.
Right.
I want to. I don't want to be in a situation where the only thing I have is where I was born.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
You know, and so it looks like the Oracle is going to visit and she'll introduce herself. But yeah, I mean, just consider it. Consider mastering that second language and deciding what if you and the family want to have a second passport so you can go someplace else. Even if you decide you don't want to live there, being able to do business in a second country, man, I can tell you, it opens
Yeah.
doors. It opens doors that you didn't know were closed.
Mm.
You
Interesting.
know, coming at it from an American businessman who already knows how to do things to go to another country, also look at the benefit you may be to them, because I'm sure in your travels there are people that you bonded with, there are people that you've gotten tight with, right?
Yeah,
What
yeah, of
happens
course.
when they can say, well, you know what, I have this opportunity, but maybe I couldn't have given it to you before because you weren't here legally.
Okay.
Not everybody wins.
Right.
You know,
I see what you're saying.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's heavy.
can't I can't stress enough how. And here's the interesting thing about what you were talking about in Puerto Rico and here in Brazil. There are countries where you can, what I say is becoming, if I'm going to use the Stephen King from the Tommy Knockers. I lived in China for a couple of years. No matter how long you live in China, you'll never be Chinese. Now, I'll never be a Brazilian, but they're a country where if you learn to eat the food, speak the language, and respect the culture, you can become
Right.
more like them. You can be accepted into the culture. Is Puerto Rico like
Right.
that?
Yes, Puerto Rico is pretty similar. Puerto Rico,
And so it's a
mainly
possibility.
because we all look alike. So, somebody will walk up to me and think I can speak Spanish. So I guess, once you get in and start to blend in and you become immersed in the culture and the you know the yeah, the culture, the language and stuff like that, then it's easy. You just become part of it, become one of them. I have a guy here, one of my clients here. We look like we could be related, but he's born in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Um, we look like we could be related, similar skin tone and everything.
Mm, mm.
So he
And
speaks
that
Spanish.
just means it's
He's
there.
bilingual. Yeah.
The option is
So
there. The
yeah,
possibility is there. You know, and it just, the world is so much smaller than it used to be because you and I are exploring options that our grandfathers could only have dreamed of.
right.
Let me say that again. Our grandfathers had such a limited existence that in their wildest dreams, speaking multiple languages with multiple sources of income, living abroad was, it just wasn't even an
Yeah.
option.
Right. Right. Wasn't even
Yeah,
thought of. Wasn't even something they dreamed of.
yeah. And for
Yeah.
us, the fact that we're just having conversations where, we're casually discussing where do I want to go in the world, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's
It's
huge.
it's crazy that you're on this because one of my after my visit to Haiti in 2017, one of my one of my it became like a dream, a passion. One of my passions, and it's still a passion of mine, is to build cultural bridges between the uh, Afro Americans and Afro Caribbeans, Afro Latin people, because we're all the same. We're all the same, but we don't even know. A lot of us, like I said, I'm just finding out after 40, But a lot of people, I know a lot of people who don't even know that Colombians, there's a large population of Africans in Colombia. You know, they think Colombia is what's the guy's name? Pablo Escobar. They think
Yeah,
everybody looks like
that's one
Pablo
word you don't
Escobar.
say there. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey guys,
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. Pleasure to be here. I'm trying to find a quiet spot. I'm in a restaurant.
Well,
Okay.
let's do this. I know who you are. Tell everybody who you are.
Uh, African American living in Ecuador for now the
Ooh.
last 10 months. Moved here from Thailand where I was there for 5 years. Air Force brat, so lived overseas for several years,
Okay.
and making it work. I do events, and my focus is on the spiritual side, looking at, as I identify as an oracle, is really help you know thyself more, which is that's the job of the oracle, which is looking we can call that a personal coach, but my focus is more on doing charts and understanding what you came here to do this time, this incarnation, as I like to say.
I always
Okay.
tell people she's like my fairy godmother in that she kind of brings balance to the force. There are times in my life when I just want to go full war, and she's helped me to calm down a little bit sometimes. Rarely, but she tries. And she's one of my favorite people. And she travels the world, and she brings a lot of wisdom wherever she goes, and I absolutely love her. But you're right, you're in Ecuador, and our friend, I don't know if you can see it, Isaiah asked an
Yes.
interesting question because when you said you're in Ecuador, he said, "What's in Ecuador?"
And I responded. We have our own source of water. We have one of the only two places on the planet that has glacier water, and that's in Pakistan
Mm.
and in the town I live in, Vilcabamba, Ecuador. And we grow our own food, which means like China right now is looking for $300 billion in corn, which tells me that country is hungry. And the US only produces $24 billion in corn. And this is a year that they have not even planted any corn. That tells you economic challenges are coming ahead, which is why I chose Ecuador, because I went, I
Mm.
need people with their own food and water. And where I'm at, there's no volcanoes, another important thing on weather factors. So I chose my locations based on survival strategies. I'm a military brat, so I'm a prepper. I was born a prepper, as they say.
Mm, mm, mm.
Okay.
And he also dropped another question. I'm going to read Isaiah's other question. He
Please.
said, "What kind of businesses or income can you establish in Ecuador? The goal to be some are there that can provide that?"
Well, if you have investment capital, you with it's a $30,000 investment, which 85% of that is insured, but you're getting an 8.5% interest. I'm like, I hadn't heard of that since I was in high school. 8.5% interest, and so people come here and
Wow.
they live off of their interest, and you can do that. So we have a lot of retirees. It's a big expat retired community here. I help. I'm in a restaurant now that I do entertainment management for them, and I just do a consultant trade, so I don't have to cook because I don't like cooking. So they feed me, and I can
Okay.
help them do fun stuff. So I've been able to be creative in that aspect. Again, my business was doing retreats and doing individual coaching. So working with the community, my Spanish is más o menos, and I didn't really come here to try to launch a business. I came here to work with existing businesses. So that was my strategy
Okay.
coming in. And same when I lived in Thailand, I didn't want to get in the politics. I don't get in any country's politics, and I try to stay out of anybody's records and immigration, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to do what they were going to allow me to do and not cause ruffles. So the visa I went for was a professional visa because I had the degree and I could go after that. And I went, okay, let's keep it simple. And that's me there. Thank you, honey. So it
Okay.
is,
And for everybody, I want you to go. I want everybody to go to phyllisrawley.com, PhyllisRawley. Know thyself more. Optimize your physical, spiritual, and relationship intelligence. Dun, dun,
yeah,
dun.
dun, dun, dun. It doesn't matter where you go. If you don't deal with your baggage, as they say, then it follows you. So whether you launch a new business in a new country, you're hoping to start again. I left America as an environmental refugee. I've had cancer twice, and I went, I don't want to get it a third time. And so I thought, let me get cleaner air, water, and food. So that was my priority. Um, and I appreciate you guys doing fast. I'm like, oh, I hate those, but they're necessary. And so it is part of the requirement of staying alive, and that we are not living in our parents' goals of wealth and aspirations. We have to make our own focus based on the reality we are at. Because I'm like, I don't encourage people to have children at this stage of the game, because I'm like, it's too polluted of a world to be bringing that kind of responsibility in. I'm going, stay healthy. That's the priority. Stay healthy. Stay intelligent. Keep learning, and keep that spiritual connection open, whatever that is. Open it quickly.
That's heavy.
Wow.
That's heavy. You said you encourage people not to have children?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Because then look at Amazon is burning right now. Our lungs are burning. I don't know how we're going to recover from that. You can spiritualize it, new age that one all you want, but I'm like, right, if there ain't no, and the Amazon, interesting, is not going to kill the air, even though that will affect us and make us sick for a while, as well as Russia's burning too. So we have the two lungs of the planet are both burning at the same time. On top of that, what's interesting, what's worse about Amazon, it's going to destroy the oceans. It's a what do they call it? Enclosed system. So it affects the ocean. And so when it kills the oceans, then we really are in trouble. So it's really not about playing everything is going to be fine. I ain't getting along to get along, what the old saying used to be.
Right.
It's about really smart strategies. It's smarter strategies than what we've ever had to do before. And this is the maturity I hope to see in our community in particular. And I've been putting my efforts into a Patreon and just giving the news we need to know. That means that we can make decisions based on today's realities, not what we've been told or sold in graduate school like I was. I had right? We all had our lessons, from nice white men that told us how to be successful. And I went, oh, you did. That's not how we're going to do it today. We're going to do something different. And the opportunities are still there. They always have been, and they always will be. There's new ones for us. And so we have to strategize for those. Just my 2 cents.
Wow.
That's my job as the oracle. I'm not the, love and light girl. I'm like, let's call it like it is.
I like that. Not the love and light girl, huh?
No. I'm not dancing topless, in furry white things. I'm going to call it like it is. And let's look at both realities. That's all I'm asking. If there's a positive, there is a negative. And if there's a negative, there is a positive. So we are in a world of polarity. And we have to remember that. It doesn't go away just because nobody talks about it. Or I used to say before I left America, we're all watching Dancing Under the Stars. What was that show, Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, Dancing with the Stars.
Right. I don't even know. Is that still on? I don't know.
I don't even watch TV.
Thank you. Thank you. Because that's the false reality. And news is even worse. And what is sold to us as news is not. And if we don't dig and look, it's pretty traumatic out there. And sadly, the weather, forget the war, forget the economic crisis. We also have to pay attention to the weather. And that's sobering right now as our oxygen is being burnt up. It's sobering. And I was sobered this morning when I went, 16 days. And I know it takes 2 weeks for air to circle around a hemisphere before we're affected. And I'm listening to people talking about being sick here locally and around the world. And I'm like, And, we all think it's us. It's just me. I'm like, no, when you hear 13 people tell you the same thing in one day, you have to start looking around and going, wait, there's something collectively we need to look at.
Yeah.
And because it's a collective issue, we need to come together as a collective.
Right. That
We need
makes
to
sense.
understand what we are doing and not just making our money just to try to retire one day. We need to survive. And we are the descendants of other survivors. And I don't care, Lemurian, Atlantean, Egyptians, whatever. They did something to survive, and we better get our skills up the same. And you big, beautiful black men, I'm hoping you will lead in that. lead us in that. We need that leadership, honestly. And as I call for that kind of leadership, I'm like, where are my people? Because I don't necessarily trust. I don't. When I listen, I'm living in a foreign country as a guest. I know
Right.
when earthquake comes. I've seen all my neighbors run out to the streets, and I'm like, you better fend for yourself.
Wow.
So that is the real responsibility we have. And if you don't have, who are you going to call when electricity goes off? What happens when you can't access your ATM? Who do you call? You better have that ground level taken care of. All of us as expats should be doing that.
You know what? We need to have a chat on prepping, because I do a lot of talk about prepping. A lot of people email me about it, but we really need to have a one-on-one and really break down the game on how, as an expat, what you need as a prepper and how prepping is going to affect you.
Yes, indeed. I agree wholeheartedly. And as traveled, I've joined to lots of Black groups around the world. And, all we're going and drinking and socializing every Sunday and having our barbecue. But we are not community, and we are diaspora people. So we don't get community. We don't understand that. We're still trying to come out of our racism past. And that's a hard thing to break. It's a hard one. And we don't have another consciousness of like, well, what do we do after that? How do we rebuild community? And unfortunately, as my teachers have said, there's a whole lot of us are going to die. But I'm like, I don't intend to be part of them. I intend to survive and do the best I know how and help as many people as I can. But I have a responsibility to my own family. And so I go home, and you're home. So hello, home.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, you just said it. You hit the nail on the head. Akeem, were you ready for this kind of heavy when I asked you if you wanted to chat?
Oh no, I had no idea she was coming with that kind of artillery, man. She came in swinging. So I'm just here. I'm just listening. I'm listening.
Well, I love you guys, and I love what you're doing. And it needs to be done. And as Yusef is saying, I do it because I want to. I do it because it's already in me to do it. I'm not doing it for the money and the deal hustle. I'm doing it because it's my heart that's driving it. And I'm like, please continue. Because the heart knows the way. When our brain says one thing, our instinct says another thing, our penis may say another thing, but it's heart knows the direction. So trust your heart.
Wow. Thank you. You know what? I think I don't know what to come behind that with.
Yeah, she touched on a lot of different things.
That was a showstopper right there.
Yeah.
Oops.
That was
I'll
definitely
hush
a showstopper.
right now.
So I want to say thanks to both of you for taking a few minutes to hang out with me. I love talking to you, and I love talking to other people, and I want you two to introduce me to some other people that I should be talking to here as well.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me, man. I will definitely be paying more attention to in the group, in the WhatsApp group.
Especially in our private group. Yeah,
for sure. So
all right, we all got stuff to do, and I love you all, and I hope everybody has a great day, and be sure to share this somewhere. Care. And what was I going to say? That's about it. Oh, by the way, Isaiah wants to contact you, so I'm going to make sure that he gets that information, and thank you for the support, BMT.
Yay.
Pleasure meeting you, Phyllis. Thanks a lot, Watt.
Same, brother.
All right.
Bye.
All right. You guys take care. Bye.
Bye. Yep. Thank you, brother. And